back to another YouTube video, and today we're taking a look at another series review. Actually, this is an Amazon Prime or a Prime original, and it is all about Fallout. And we are starting doing a Fallout series on the channel as well. We're going to be going through Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 over the next coming weeks, so do stay tuned for that as well. However, this is about the TV show, which does star the Jinx voice actor from Arcane as the main character of the Vault Dweller, and a load of other famous faces here as well. But as per usual with the series reviews or film reviews, we have to take a look at what score it has at Google before we take a look at what I say my score is to see if I agree with Google or if I do not. So, without any further ado, any further delay, I have been so excited for this series for the longest time. It has been one of my highly anticipated series for 2024, so let's stop wasting time, get into it, and take a look at Fallout, the series. So, over on Google, it says a story set in the post-apocalyptic America. That is literally it. There is 8 episodes, all an hour long each. That seems to be the main thing for live action series or series. It is like 8 episodes all around an hour each, like 50, 40, hour and 10, roughly that sort of ballpoint figure of an episode. But how this series starts is there is multiple different stories with multiple different characters. We have the Vault story, we have the Army story, we have the Ghoul story, and we also have the main girl story. I genuinely forgot the name of the main girl. I'm sorry, but she lives in a vault with her brother and her father, and she opens up to Vault 32, Vault 32, to marry someone. And they all come in, they all have a big party, they fight, a lot of them die, they manage to capture the 32s and put them in prison, and because one of them escaped with her father, she decided to go out into the world and go find her father. So that is where the story splits off, because that vault and her brother continue the story of discovering what is wrong and the secrets of the vault, because they actually go into 32 and they see that there's a load of dead bodies, a load of destroyed crops that have been destroyed for a very, very long time, and they find out that their mother's pit boy, the mother who was supposed to be dead ages ago, was the one that was used to get into this vault. So that is pretty much the end of their story. Like, he goes into Vault 31 as well and sees all the rich people frozen in ice boxes, and he's going to be trapped there forever. So he has an option to starve to death or go into an ice vault himself. He then has the Ghoul story, which is a cowboy who was alive 200 years ago when the bombs first dropped, and he was a film star. He was being used to promote the vaults and sort of talk about them and make sure that people bought them. He got a special seat in the vault, but he never actually went into the vault, and I don't know why. However, Vault Tech, the people that ran the vaults, were the ones who actually dropped the bombs to make people paranoid, scared, and actually go into the vaults and cause the end of the world so they could have their perfect paradise after the vaults, after the nukes have been dropped and the vaults have been opened. His story is mainly in flashbacks, but he ends up running into our main characters quite a lot, and he's also hunting for this head to sort of get this infinite power source, which is in this scientist's head. He also befriends Dogmeat, and I was so happy when Dogmeat was alive at the end, and he left him for dead quite a few times, but Dogmeat always comes back, and he's such a good boy, and I'm so glad that he didn't die throughout this series, because that dog is fucking adorable. We then have the Army story, which is a guy who wants to be in a big suit of armor, who gets sort of promoted to sort of wingman or like squire, so he's constantly running around after this suit of armor man. He ended up letting his master die, so he stole the suit, and then he just sort of ran around pretending to be that guy. He got his own squire, and the head was stolen from him, so he had to chase him down. His suit broke down, and that's pretty much it. He teamed up with the girl, and then he tried to betray the girl, and now he actually owns his own suit of armor by the end of the series because he was mistaken for the one who stopped the villain instead. And then we have our main girl, who is the one who is running around in between all of these stories. She left the vault to go find her father. She runs into the Ghoul, who kidnaps her. She has to protect this head and take it to this lady at the other side of the country. She ends up getting attacked by a giant axolotl, a giant bear, some ghouls, and she teams up with this guy in armor. And she saves him from cockroaches. She ends up in another vault, which has Jerry from Rick and Morty in it, which is so exciting. I was so happy to see him there. And she continues this quest to go across the wasteland, and she ends up making it all the way to the other lady. She sees her dad, and she finds out what her dad really is, and the dad actually caused the apocalypse and actually caused the nukes to be dropped. So that was a big bombshell to receive on the last episode. And the ghoul is hunting him down to try and find where his family is, like his daughter and his wife. But unfortunately, he cannot find them. So that's where the series ends, with the ghoul and this girl here teaming up together to go find her father on a second time. And that's pretty much where the season left off. So next season will be them going around trying to find her dad again and find out more secrets of what the vault is. So there is definitely going to be a season 2, as it was left on a pretty big cliffhanger, and I am going to be honest, they did such a fucking good job. It was so much better than Avatar and One Piece, because the backgrounds actually looked realistic, and it didn't look like they were on a giant blue screen. The backgrounds actually looked real, everything looked so accurate. There's so many game sort of teases and game Easter eggs. The armor looks sick. The battles were really cool, even if it was like a giant monster, which shouldn't have been like available to do that well as it is CGI. But they managed to do it really well. I'm pretty sure they used a real dog for dog meat as well, which is perfect because then we got some really good interactions with the dog. The dog wasn't as the main character as I expected it to be. It had quite a few posters for it, and I think that was just because it was a selling point and not actually to try and get him as a main character in the series. He's still about and he's still in the show, but he wasn't as like a big role as I thought he would have been. I didn't really like the army side of it. I am going to be honest. I didn't like the army men's story. I thought it was a little bit boring and repetitive because he was constantly like tricking people, constantly lying to people to try and get this armor, and he was constantly hurting others so he could get this armor. And I'm going to be honest, I just didn't like his story at all. I thought it was a weak one. His was the worst one. Even the ghouls was a lot more interesting than him, and his was just like flashbacks and backstory, which didn't really bother me. Normally, backstory cuts off from the main story, and it really does bug me. But this one had a nice flow to it. It had a nice sort of even balance between the flashbacks and the main story, so it was not as distracting or not as interrupting. The dad being evil, to be fair, I expected, because the vault story was very predictable and easy to follow, and you could sort of predict what was happening, what was going on, and you could tell that we're all evil. It wasn't foreshadowing that much, and you could tell that there was always something up with the vault. There's always something up with the vault. If you've played the games, you get to know that there's always something wrong with the vaults, and that story was predictable, but it wasn't there that much. I'm going to be honest, that they took very big breaks between that because I don't think there was very much story to go around in the vaults. It was just one main storyline of them sort of finding out the secret of the vault. So I do understand why that one took so many breaks in between. The ghoul, no, the main story was obviously the favorite one and the one which took the most effort. And again, this is a really good video game live action. We're in the age where live actions are getting so much better, with One Piece and Avatar being the anime live actions, which are mediocre. They're okay. They're not like brilliant, but they're watchable and they're very like accurate to the source material. And then we have video game adaptations like this, with Uncharted being like another mediocre one, but this one being a really good one, and the other one that we got a couple of like weeks ago, being also really good. And I'm gonna be honest, this is so good. Like the props and the set design are so accurate. They look so gorgeous, and it's how I expect a game show to look. And I know a lot of people are complaining about ghouls looking more human-like and less scary and less horrifying, but they're doing that in the games as well, so it is understandable that they're doing it in the shows as well. I don't know why they're making this change to make ghouls more like human-like, but it's just how it goes. They're not like their skin's no longer falling off and they're no longer rotting, but they're still ghouls and they still are quite scary with the noises they make. There's a couple of actors which I didn't expect to see in here, like that guy from Stranger Things. He was also in here, which was a shock to see, and I feel like they used the same house multiple times, but I didn't mind that. It's fair. they spent a lot of money on the sets, so it's fair that they went back to the same places quite a few times. I don't mind that because it looked so beautiful and so gorgeous. I also liked the inside of the vault. I thought that there was so much detail in the inside, like that I genuinely didn't expect. And it was fun to see the characters change and develop over the series, with the main character getting more used to life outside the vault, and we have the ghoul sort of taking flashbacks, learning more about his story and why he's the way he is. So each one has the character development that you would expect, and even the army men, again, I'm not good with names, I forgot his name, has that character development where he's no longer being selfish and he's learning to sort of be more selfless, and then he starts to love the main girl as well. So we have a little bit of a love story going on. And then, of course, Dogmeat is just there for the ride. He's fucking adorable and he's so good. And he just wants his scientist dad back. But unfortunately, that scientist dad has been dead for a long, long time. But he has a new father now, which is the ghoul. I don't like that he's called the ghoul, but I don't think he has another name. So it's fine, it'll do. I wish he had like an actual name instead of the ghoul. Because the ghoul sounds cool, but that's more like an alias, not like a real name. I loved the sort of red rocket and the other references as well. There's like the Canada flag in there. There's the big sort of New Vegas at the end of the series. I do believe that's where her dad's going. We also had a couple of others which I don't remember. But I wish there was one of the big monsters with the horns. I genuinely forgot its name. I'm not good with names, but other than that, this series is definitely a 10 out of 10. I would watch it again. It is so good. Please definitely go watch it. It is on Amazon Prime. Go watch it right now.